Home. It's where we belong. The place we fill with hope and laughter. Where we dream, where we grow. In Idaho, our cities are growing and expanding, and yet we all want to keep our sense of community. We all want to feel at home. Part of our work as the League of Idaho Cities, the Association of Idaho Cities, and American Planning Association Idaho chapter is to address and educate on the planning needs of all communities throughout the state by providing education, technical assistance, and training in the subject areas of planning and zoning, annexation, procurement, open meetings, public records, and ethics. In 1975, the Idaho legislature adopted a law that requires all cities and counties to plan. Title 67, Chapter 65 of the Idaho statutes is known as the Local Land Use Planning Act. Among the purposes of the act is to protect property rights, ensure adequate public facilities, protect sensitive and natural resources, encourage urban development in cities, ensure that development is compatible with the land, and protect against hazards. The law also sets forth procedures for communities to follow in planning, requirements for citizen participation, and intergovernmental cooperation.
I think if for cities is a foundation for elected officials in the community to determine who they want to be when they grow up. And so the idea of a comprehensive plan really became more of an interest to communities, especially the citizens, in regarding what's the future of our community going to be. What is it going to look like? What are the obstacles that we need to be aware of? And how can we make those changes now than later?
And how can we avoid the need for future major adjustments simply because we didn't foresee what would be or could be coming and we didn't accommodate it? So there's a social dimension, and then there's the physical dimension to a lot of this. And so public works plays a big part in this whole thing. And if you don't right-size components, you wind up duplicating components to get around bottlenecks. That's both in surface travel and underground water and sewer lines. The capacity needs to anticipate the ultimate build out of a community, not just what you can foresee in the next 5 or 10 years. And the goal of every community should be to make the place a great place to live and do business.
The value of using planning to transform communities is evident throughout the state. One example is in Caldwell. With vision and planning, including community and business engagements and partnerships, Caldwell transformed its downtown from a place that people drove by into a community and tourism destination. By opening up its once polluted and covered Indian Creek, they created a destination showpiece, adopting the zoning and planning requirements to support the right development around the creek and public spaces surrounding it. Caldwell has made their community a highly desirable place to live, do business, and visit. Another example is in North Idaho, where the city of Sandpoint had a vision to create more pedestrian-friendly downtown streets.
Of the various services and programs that are operated by local governments, there's nothing else that involves the citizenry as much as the planning operations. And it really gives elected officials an opportunity to interact with their citizenry in a way that nothing else that they do does.
You need to recognize there are sometimes language barriers, there's sometimes cultural barriers, and if you go out to them and get them engaged, then you can address the whole breadth of the issues that a community faces.
An example of communities planning together for ever-increasing change and growth is the West Central Mountains Economic Development Council, a partnership of the cities of Cascade, Donnelly, McCall, New Meadows, and Valley County The Council applied for monies and grants to benefit jobs, housing, and educational opportunities. By planning for the future infrastructure, workforce education, and tourism needs, the region is not only strengthening their economy, it's strengthening their residents' day-to-day lives.
The challenge then when you're reacting to fast growth is you tend to look at things piecemeal rather than stepping back and looking at the whole thing, because you're busy dealing with each individual application and not looking at how does this fit into the overall plan, and is the plan that the community has the same as the comprehensive plan. There are certain elements that are worth protecting, and that's a challenge to do that in those limited areas where growth is such a force. Personal interaction is really key to getting a good outcome.
This is Idaho. This is home. A collection of communities from under 100 to over 200,000. These are our treasured communities. We thrive here. We belong here. By planning together, we can ensure each of our communities is not only prepared for growth, but prepared to thrive. And future generations of Idahoans can enjoy the same. The legislature has provided us with a great tool, the Local Land Use Planning Act. It has served us well. Let's work together in planning our future to make our communities home. This video was produced for the League of Idaho Cities and American Planning Association Idaho chapter through the generous support of the Idaho Department of Commerce, the United States Economic Development Administration, Cushlan Associates, the President's Council of the American Planning Association, and our members. Please check out our websites for other training videos and resources to support planning in your community.